All right, so we're back with our final scenario, Stuck in the City, Part 3. We're going to be talking about the Burbs. We're in the Burbs now. It's been a while since I've made a video for you guys. I have been busy. I had the other day, a friend of mine locally here dropped off 50 pounds of carrots, so I have been canning carrots like crazy in my kitchen. And I'm still not done yet. I got to do at least one more batch. For those of you following on Twitter, you saw that. And then we're also fermenting some. A lot of you guys commented on Twitter, are you going to ferment any of those carrots? And yes, we are fermenting some of those in the kitchen. You can see pictures of that on Twitter. If you're not following us on Twitter, you should be doing that. So anyway, getting back into our final scenario, Stuck in the City, what I would do. This is a fantasy land. There is, this is all of our imagination. None of this is advice. Let's go ahead and get through my disclaimer. Everything I'm about to say is educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this video should be taken seriously or with criminal intent. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead. We're going to get into St. Louis again because it's the city I know, the city I grew up in. I grew up basically on the Merrimack River in South St. Louis County, bordering on Fenton area. And so we're going to go in that direction. All right, here's the deal. A lot of you guys, get out of the city, Now, a lot of you guys are living in the suburbs, and so this video is going to apply to you guys. Now, things I think, in my opinion, this is, again, my opinion only, my fantasy land, my Mad Max scenario. It's my opinion that things, when you get into the suburbs, change drastically. Why? Because, in my opinion, this is the land of the gun show. The land of the gun show. Now, let me explain myself. Now, I grew up in what was called the gun culture. More so in my older years as I got out of the Army or before I went into the Army. But I became familiar with a guy named by the name of John Ross later, and he basically coined the phrase the gun culture. He wrote a book called Unintended Consequences. And so I have had my finger on the pulse of the gun culture, without going into detail of why. But I've had my finger on that pulse for a lot of years. And I know when you get in, because you don't see gun shows in the city normally. Most of the cities I've lived in Orlando, I've lived in St. Louis, and I've lived in some other places. And most of the places that I'm familiar with, they have the gun shows outside of the cities in the more suburban type environments, because that's where a lot of people have more money, and that's where you're going to get a lot more of your customers. One of the big gun shows in the St. Louis area is the St. Charles Gun Show. They have it at the St. Charles Convention Center. It's a pretty big convention center, and it's always packed, and a lot of great people there, a lot of great vendors. And so I'm familiar with the gun shows, but they're usually almost wherever city you're in, and I've lived in multiple places. Again, it's going to be in the suburbs. People who live in the suburbs have a little bit more income, okay? They're a little bit of a higher status when it comes to, being financially set. And they are the ones who will purchase your AR-15s. They are the ones who will purchase your rifles and have a number of magazines and ammo. And so when you start getting the chaos into the suburbs, in my opinion, you're going to start to see a little bit of a clean out. And by a clean out, it's what I've referred to in the other videos as taking out the trash. Because the reality is, there are guns in the city, okay, don't get me wrong. But there's not as, in my opinion, from what I understand and what I've known, again, having someone who's had my toe dipped in law enforcement and who has seen things and been in the gun culture and has that finger on that pulse, there's just more guns in the suburbs than there actually are in the city. Because more people in the suburbs can afford them and afford nicer ones. So, leave a comment below if you don't agree with me. But I'm just giving you my opinion on what I think. So, when the insanity that's in the city moves out to the suburbs, you're going to see some thinning of the herd. and it's going to be a giant filter. In my opinion, the majority of the chaos is going to be when the insanity and criminal element get to the burbs. Because the burbs are armed. They are armed to the teeth. Now, I'm not saying, I don't know what, listen, it's going to run the gamut on training and, how well they know their weapon systems or platforms. My point is that they're heavily armed. And so you're going to get to a point where they're going to get out there and all these guys who have their AR-15 stuck in their closets, they're going to load up those 2 or 3 mags that they own. And, out of because they have a couple boxes of ammo. That's all they've purchased. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Most AR-15 owners I know who live in the burbs, they have an AR-15. It sits in the closet, and they have 1 or 2 mags. And then they have, it's in the gun case, nice little gun case that came with their gun. And they have, about 100 rounds of American Eagle ammo. Federal ammo that they bought at the gun show with their gun, or it came with their gun, or maybe they found it at a local gun store. But that's what they got. They're going to load up their mags, and they're going to start thinning the herd of people who break down their doors and who steal their cars, and it's going to be a bloodbath. Now, when the complete and total collapse happens, again, I'm going to go with the same strategy that we had in the city scenario of where you have like 2 or 3 guys, maybe 3 or 4 guys who are switched on, who have some sort of experience when it comes to military or police action. They have some police background or military veteran background. And you're going to take those guys, you're going to bring in about, 5 or 6 more families, maybe more. And then you're going to take over an office building. And that gets back to what Robert Kiyosaki said here.
I was a student of Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. They call him the friendly genius. John Denver called him the grandfather of the future because he's a futurist. And years ago in the 80s, I heard him say office buildings will someday be homes for homeless people. I went, what? That was sacrilegious for me back then. And now it's here.
That's quite a prediction, too. That was how long ago was that, 50 years?
50 years ago. I'm listening to this guy. He says office buildings will soon be homeless shelters. And you look at the number of homeless is exploding.
I shared that clip in the last video, and I think it still holds true. A lot of these office buildings are going to be turned into homeless shelters, and those are perfect places, if you can get the right one, that you can solidify, harden up, and withstand some of the insanity that's out in the world today. And so I picked one. Let's go ahead and take you through my scenario. Okay, so just south of St. Louis, this is downtown area Fenton. Actually, this is the industrial park of Fenton that we're looking at right here. And outside the edge of this industrial park that you see here is this building. I'm not going to give you the name of the building. You can probably find it online if you want to. But of all the places, this thing, I think, has amazing potential. Number one, you've got some southern-facing grass right there on the side of the building where you could be putting plants in. The best part about this is that it has elevation and overwatch capabilities. You are on top of a hill. The other thing is it's got rooftop access. So there's a little hatch here that I'm assuming gives you rooftop access. There's probably a ladder that goes up from a closet, goes up onto the roof. And then from there, you can put, potted plants up here. You've got rain catchment options up here. And there's probably got a gutter system that you could probably tap into and then lead into an area of the building where you could actually have that water filtered or use it for whatever, for your plants outside on the edge here. And so, I like this. A building like this has got lots of potential. Not to mention, you have, again, that overwatch, but then also you have this an area that's basically cleared all around it, so you can see anything coming up to you from below. And then also you have this area here where I would think it'd be a great place to put a few animals. You could fence that in with some sort of, even a small area starting off and then enlarge it later and then put a few animals, a few goats, a few chickens, something out there that you can cover with your overwatch from these windows here with firepower from someone who's on guard duty. So you put a few families in this building, just like Robert Kiyosaki said, these buildings will become homeless shelters. Because if a complete and total collapse happens, and I think we're headed that way, a complete and total collapse of the U.S. dollar without rule of law, no police presence, warlords are roaming the streets, I would take over a building like this. That would make it a fortress. Again, what Patton said, fixed fortifications are monuments built to the stupidity of man. That's true. However, people have always gravitated towards fixed fortifications because they do work unless your enemy, your adversary, has unlimited time, money, and resources to throw at you. He will eventually take you, and that's why Patton said that. But if your adversary does not have unlimited time, money, and resources, they will not take you. And so, again, a building like this that has the elevation, that has that ability for water catchment, that has the ability of growing things, I think that would be absolutely fantastic to take over and use in a scenario without rule of law. Another benefit to a place like this that has the elevation would be some sort of a ham radio tower you could put up on here to where you could gather information, gather intel from the airwaves, radio waves, different frequencies, different bands. Having that ability to put in something like this, you would have a ability to put in some solar panels, because solar panels are going to be everywhere. In fact, you drive down the highway. In fact, there's probably some solar panels over here. You'll find, see those right there and right there. See, you're going to find solar panels everywhere after collapse. And if you find the battery power to contain that, that gathered energy, you can use that for things like a ham radio or communications or other things as well, even other security aspects. So there's my scenario number 3. Again, I think things are going to change once you get to the suburbs. I think most of the horribleness of a grid down collapse is going to take place in the suburbs. Now, I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, you tell me below in the comments. You tell me, Zach, no, the city's going to be the worst place. I think the cities are going to vacate quick, fast, and in a hurry. There's nothing there. And it's for those of you who can't get out, well, then I've told you what to do in the past scenarios, in the past videos. However, if you can get out, or if you know somebody in the suburbs and you've got a few switched on folks, you might go there. But I think because you're entering the land of the gun show, where the majority of middle to upper middle income families live, they're going to have AR-15s. The majority of the firepower is in the suburbs. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments below. I don't think I'm wrong. I believe I'm right, because I believe I had my finger on the pulse of the gun culture and where that firepower is. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The comments on these videos have been fantastic so far. I'm just loving going through the last 2 videos. We talked about these scenarios and reading the comments. It's I'm learning a lot of things. People have lots of great ideas, so I would encourage you to also go through the comments below and just see other people's ideas. Some people's ideas are crazy. They have crazy comments. There's well thought out comments, but the comments are definitely have been enjoyable. So, all right, leave your comment below. Let me know what you think. And I don't know if we'll continue on with this series or not. I'm not going to probably go out farther from the suburbs. We're getting too much into fantasy land, and not only that, but once we get out to more rural areas, we run into OPSEC issues. We'll see. I got other things I need to cover. This whole smart gun biofire thing, I need to cover that in a video coming up, because there's a lot of YouTube channels covering that, and I just think this is an insane idea. So we'll talk about that coming up too soon. All right. If you enjoyed the video, before you go, hit that like button. I really appreciate that. And then also subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And make sure you're still subscribed, because the YouTube, robots come through and they unsubscribe lots of people all the time. So make sure I'm not well liked. Listen, I have well over 100,000 subscribers now, and YouTube hasn't even thought about sending me a play button, because I am in the YouTube doghouse and will always forever be. So I have no, delusions of ever getting a play button in the mail. I have been blacklisted forever. So, and people always tell me how they're unsubscribed from my channel. So just make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and then share us on social media. You don't see ads in the middle of my videos. Do you know that? Because I don't like the interruptions. When I watch other videos and I'm knee deep in thought and I'm really listening to the person on camera, I don't want to be interrupted with an ad. I don't like that. So I don't put my YouTube ad. Sometimes YouTube comes around and they'll put ads in the videos after I tell them not to, and I have to go back and uncheck that box. But for the most part, I don't put ads in the middle of my videos because I don't like the interruption. I don't think you do either. So that's why I put the ads at the end of my videos. Our advertiser for most of my videos recently has been Genesis Gold Group. Check them out if you need help getting into gold and silver because you're stuck in a 401k. They are the ones you need to talk to. All right, guys. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye. This is Grandma. Grandma survived the Great Depression. She survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she knew how to do stuff. Grandma was smart. Grandma told us to make do with what you got. She also said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Homesteading is all about self-reliance and declaring ourselves to be independent from the system. We grow our own food, we raise our own animals, and doing these things helps safeguard our families from the unpredictable world that surrounds us. But what about banking? I love being my own power company, but what about being my own bank? Right now, our country is over $30 trillion in debt and rising. The Fed keeps printing money and the Congress won't stop spending money. Staying attached to the modern banking system and their investment vehicles is like putting all of your eggs in one very, very fragile basket. On one side, you have the threat of inflation and your savings value floating away, and the other side is a possible deflationary stock market collapse, just like what happened in the 1930s. Genesis Gold Group is like a basket holding eggs, and these eggs are impossible to break. History shows us that all paper investments have and will return to their intrinsic value eventually, zero. But gold, silver, and other precious metals have never, ever been worthless. In every collapse throughout history, people have turned back to precious metals to find monetary value. If you have a 401k, an IRA, or a savings account where you're literally watching the purchasing power inflate away, give Genesis Gold Group a call right now. Today, this instant. They can develop a strategy for you in the days ahead. I can tell you how I raise sheep, I can tell you how I raise chickens, or the best way to grow tomatoes, or how to hook up a solar panel. But Genesis Gold Group is your best shot at safeguarding your hard-earned savings and investments during this increasingly turbulent time in history. The link and phone number is in the description below, or visit their website at genesisgoldgroup.com. And be sure to say you heard about them from An American Homestead. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of An American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.